If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, big weekend, everybody. Of course, everyone's talking about UFC 235, so I have my man Nolan King from Flow Combat joining me. We're going to chat real quick about what's going on this weekend. Nolan, what's the one thing that you're looking forward to this weekend? What's your one story to watch?
Oh man, there's a lot of good selections that I could choose from. A completely stacked card at UFC 235 in Vegas, but I'm going to say my fighter to watch for this card is going to have to be Johnny Walker. I mean, you know, we always talk about in MMA, it seems like we're more focused on the future than we are on the past. I mean, you know, fights happen, and then the first thing that comes out of our mouths is, you know, or John Anik's mouth, or whoever's doing the interview is, who do you want next? You know, what's next? What's going to happen next? Dana White, when is this fight going to happen? And that's kind of what I'm seeing here, and in the grander scheme of things is, you know, whatever happens between John Jones and Anthony Smith on Saturday night, we still need contenders in this division. And, you know, we've had guys that have gone on rolls like Corey Anderson, you know, Gustafsson, when he just had his shot, he got back into, you know, got a few wins in a row, earned his title shot. But we haven't had a new name, a new guy who's promotable, who's exciting, young, relatively young, like Johnny Walker in quite a while. I can't remember the last time that we had somebody like that had that star potential burst onto the scene. So, you know, I'm looking towards the future as always. You know, in my typical MMA fan way, that's what I'm going for, man. I think you know, a test against Misha Serkinov, that's a good one. That's one that you know, will be a real litmus test in terms of where he fits in this division.
You know, I think the obvious answer is John Jones. I think everyone's going to say John Jones, but I'm not going with John Jones. I'm going with Anthony Smith because for the first time maybe in John Jones's tenure in the UFC, he's fighting a guy who I feel has absolutely nothing to lose. This guy's going in with a clean slate. Everyone's expecting him to get rolled over. And I talked to Mark Montoya last week. I like the approach about enjoying the process every single day, just enjoying each day of training. Don't feel the pressure, just enjoy it one step to the next. So it's going to be interesting to see a guy like Anthony Smith go in there with absolutely nothing to lose, with very little pressure on him, to see how he can perform against the greatest fighter of all time. In terms of what's flying under the radar for you, Nolan, whether it be this weekend, whether it be stuff that's dropped over the last couple of days, couple of weeks, what are you looking at here?
Well, I have to say, if we're talking about this weekend, this is kind of something that I realized the other day, and I hadn't necessarily thought of it, is the fact that we're getting John Jones on such a quick turnaround. I mean, he just fought 8 weeks ago, and it's nice to have a superstar, a guy with that draw, who's fighting on a consistent basis. I feel like that's kind of flown under the radar in this whole thing, where, you know, he's had his problems. We've had McGregor going in and out of the, you know, of the MMA scene, and, you know, I don't really even know who else we could put in that category, but it's so nice to be able to have a guy that you could promote without having to do any, you know, really making a stretch or having to stack a card to make it seem like it's a good, you know, big fight, or make these guys get up at press conferences and yell at each other when you can tell they totally have no interest in doing so. So for me, I'm happy that we're having a quick turnaround with a superstar. I mean, that's flying. If we're talking about flying under the radar, that's probably one of the storylines of this week that nobody's talking about.
That's interesting, because my pick was going to be Cody Stamann versus Alejandro Perez, but you just changed my mind. The fact that Tyron Woodley is fighting Kamaru Usman this weekend, that's flying under the radar to me, because nobody's talking about it. The other day I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, John Jones is fighting Anthony Smith. I'm like, and the rest of the undercard stack. And I didn't even think off the top of my head that Kamaru Usman's challenging Tyron Woodley for the UFC welterweight title a week after George St. Pierre has retired from the sport. So very interesting stuff. Lot to look forward to this weekend, and you know, things kind of flipped around here. Nolan, let everyone know where to find and follow you, man. I know you got to go to work soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Flow Combat, you can follow my work there. I have some articles coming out this week. Tapology, I'm doing some stuff for them per usual. And follow me on Twitter at MMA_Kings, and then on all other social media at Nolan King MMA.
Nolan, thanks for the time, man. Enjoy the fights on Saturday. We'll talk next week.
Hell yeah, man. How do I sound? Good?
You sound incredible, Nolan.
Oh.
Got $1 million.
It's making me feel, you're going to make me blush when we go on the air. I'll be all ripped.